14 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I would look to buy low and trade for this week. The first guy is Toscar Hernandez of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Hernandez, we know he's got 30 home run potential and could be a big superstar in the major leagues in the next few seasons. And right here on the season so far for Hernandez, 11 home runs, 48 RBIs, 34 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 297 batting average, and a 338 on base percentage. So right now his numbers aren't all that great, in my opinion. Only 11 home runs. I know he missed a couple weeks with an injury early in the year. In the last couple weeks here for Hernandez, 1 homer, 5 RBIs, 8 runs scored, a 288 batting average, and a 315 on base percentage. Where most Hernandez owners thought he would have more power and bigger power numbers at this time. And right now, only 11 home runs on the season. Where last season, in only 190 at-bats, he had 16 homers. With this year, in 263 with the 11. So right now, he's not hitting for power. And in the last month, he only hit 3 home runs as well as Hernandez. But it's good to see him batting 297 on the season. But everything else right now, you're not getting what you expected from him. Even the on-base is low compared to what the batting average is. So the last few games for Hernandez, July 1st versus Seattle, 2 for 4. July 2nd versus Tampa Bay, 1 for 5 with a run. July 3rd versus Tampa Bay, 1 for 4 with a run. July 4th versus Tampa, 0 for 4. July 6th at Baltimore, 0 for 3. And then last night at Baltimore, 3 for 5 with a run and an RBI. So right now, he's getting hits, which is a good sign. But the power isn't coming, and I'm a Hernandez owner in a few leagues, and it's frustrating that he's not hitting for power when I expected him to have a huge power season, and right now that just hasn't been the case. But it's good that the batting average is up there. But right now, if a fantasy owner is not happy with Hernandez's play right now this season and wants more power, I definitely think you could get him on a little bit of a discount compared to what you could have got him for if the power numbers were up there right now. So he's the first hitter I look to buy low and trade for. The second hitter this week's Isaiah Cafella of the Texas Rangers. So Fafella, he got off to a roaring start early in the season, but right now his numbers have definitely dropped off over the last few weeks for Fafella. On the season, 6 home runs, 30 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, 44 runs, 260 batting average, and a 295 on base. So that on base to batting average ratio is pretty poor in my opinion. In the last couple weeks for him, no home runs, 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored, a 140 batting average, and a 173 on base. So right now he's hit rock bottom with the batting average is thinner, and he's showing no fantasy value at all. And I know he qualifies a catcher, third, and short, and he's an everyday player right now for this Texas Ranger team, but he's definitely not doing anything. But I think he's going to turn things around, and that catch eligibility is huge, no doubt about it. So the last few games for him, July 1st at Oakland, 1 for 5. July 2nd, he sat out at Seattle. July 3rd at Seattle, 0 for 4 with a run. July 4th at Seattle, 0 for 3. July 5th versus Detroit, 0 for 4. July 6th versus Detroit, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. And July 7th versus Detroit, 0 for 4. So right now, he's only got 2 hits in his last 7 games here is Keener Fafella. And I think he's going to turn things around. He's going to get things going. And the good thing with him is he's still putting the ball in play. He's just not finding the holes right now or getting good contact. So I think he's going to turn things around. And right now, while his batting average is way down there over the last couple weeks, and he's not really helping fantasy owners, this is a perfect time to go out there and buy him low this week. The next hitter I look to buy low and trade for is Ryan McMahon of the Colorado Rockies. So McMahon, he got off to a big start early in the season, including a 3 home run game this year for McMahon. On the season, 16 home runs, 46 RBIs, 48 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 255 batting average, and a 316 on base for McMahon. So those are still pretty decent numbers throughout the year here, but the last couple of weeks he's pretty much done nothing for fantasy owners. No home runs, 2 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a stolen base, a 250 batting average, and a 362 on base percentage. So right there, those numbers hold no value. And he's definitely in a big-time slump here as McMahon, but I think he's going to start breaking out of it. And right now, while he's not driving in runs and hitting for power, this is a perfect time to buy him low before he breaks out. The last few games for him, July 1st versus St. Louis, 1 for 3 with a run. July 2nd versus St. Louis, 1 for 3 with a run and a rib. July 3rd versus St. Louis, 2 for 4. July 4th versus St. Louis, 1 for 3. July 6th at Arizona, 0 for 4. And then last night, July 7th at Arizona, 3 for 4 with a run and an RBI. So right now, he's got 6 out of his last 7 games with a hit here is McMahon. And 2 out of the last 4, he's got 2 or more hits in his game. So right now, he's breaking out of the slump. I think the power's going to come back and the runs batted in are going to come back. And right now, while those numbers have been low in the last few weeks, this is a perfect time to go out there and get him. And he's a versatile player as well that qualifies at first, second, and third here in fantasy baseball. The next hit is Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So Betts was a top 5 pick here in most fantasy leagues this season. And right now, he's just not cutting it. 11 home runs, 32 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 50 runs scored, a 246 batting average, and a 356 on base percentage. So right here, we know Mookie Betts, he's been one of the best players in baseball over the last decade here. And this season, it's just been a bad season for him for whatever reason. In the last couple weeks for him as well, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 7 runs scored, a stolen base, a 229 batting average, and a 315 on base. So right here, those numbers aren't eye-popping. The power numbers are low as well with only 11 home runs so far in the season. But Betts is too good of a player. He's on too good of a team. And he's going to heat up, in my opinion, and really get things going in the second half of the season. So the last few games for him, July 1st at Washington, 0 for 3. July 2nd at Washington, 2 for 5 with a run and 2 RBIs. July 3rd at Washington, 1 for 5. July 4th at Washington, 1 for 5. July 5th he sat out. July 6th at Miami, 1 for 5. And July 7th at Miami, 1 for 5 with a homer and an RBI in that game. So right now the numbers, like I said, they're not popping out. They're not big numbers at all this season. But Mookie Betts, he's too good of a player. And right now, while he's definitely not putting up first-round talent and first-round numbers where people took him this year in fantasy leagues, some owners, they're going to be tired of Betts and try to trade him off for something that they could get of decency at this point, I think. I don't think his value is going to be super high, which it was obviously in the beginning of the season. And right now is a perfect time to get him on discount before I think he breaks out here in the second half of the season, because I think these 4 or 5 days off for the All-Star break is really going to help Betts and even other players struggling to refresh, re-gear, and refocus. And I think that's what's going to happen with Betts. So right now, I would go out there and try to get him on a discount. In the 5th and final play, I would look to try to buy low and trade for is Anthony Rizzo of the Chicago Cubs. So Anthony Rizzo in a contract season this year, and his numbers are mediocre to poor. 10 home runs, 33 RBIs, 32 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 250 batting average, and a 343 on base. In the last couple weeks, he's virtually done nothing as well here for fantasy owners. 1 home and 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored, a 235 batting average, and a 316 on base for Rizzo. So Rizzo here, we know he wants the big contract. We know the Cubs pretty much lowball offered him a deal in the offseason or last offseason, whatever it was. And right now, his home run numbers are nowhere near where they should be with the 10 only on the season. And the last few games of Rizzo, July 2nd in Cincinnati, 0 for 3. July 3rd at Cincinnati, 1 for 4. July 4th at Cincinnati, 2 for 4. July 5th versus Philly, 1 for 4. July 6th versus Philly, 0 for 3. And July 7th versus Philly, 2 for 4 with 2 runs and an RBI. So he's starting to get hits, is Rizzo. And the other telling sign, his strikeout rate is way low. So he's putting the ball in play, and he's another guy that's just not finding the holes and hitting the ball over the fence this season. But right now, he's another guy like Betts. I think he's going to refocus, re-gear, refresh, and get things going here in the second half of the season, especially with a big contract looming with the Cubs or some other team here in the offseason. So I think Rizzo's a perfect buy low candidate, especially with the low RBI total as well, with only 33 on the season. A few hitters I'd look to buy low and trade for here in Week 14 of the fantasy baseball season.